Okay, well, wouldn't you know? Today the Oklahoma City Thunder coach got fired, Scott Brooks, and I don't understand why he got fired, considering he's had all but his first year he's had a winning record, and even took him to the NBA Finals once. Um, and then this year they didn't even have their best player, and they almost made the playoffs with Russell Westbrook, who is surrounded by the twos and the 22s and everything else. And then they fire Scott Brooks. So it's kind of weird. But let's look at Scott Brooks. But first off, I want to show you Russell Westbrook. Born in 1988, born on November 12th. The 222 reference that I've seen multiple times. He was the Monstar. He's also from Long Beach, which I'll talk about that in a few minutes here. November 12th is also 49 days left until the end of the year. Anyway, let's look at Scott Brooks then. Scott Brooks was born July 31st, 1965, and he is 49 years old. So, straight up, this is why they had to lose. This is why Westbrook didn't lead them to the playoffs in the Pelicans, because they knew they were going to fire him, and since he's 49, they had to lose. That's pretty awesome. But today is April 22nd. Hopefully you can see that. April 22nd is the 112th day of the year, 11/2/22. So we'll go down a little further here. He was assistant coach with Sacramento Kings and Denver Nuggets, and then he was named as an assistant to PJ Carlesimo with the Seattle Supersonics before the 2000-2008 season. And whatever. Then PJ Carlesimo got fired on November 22nd, and Brooks was the interim coach. And then on April 22nd, 2009, the Thunder dropped the interim, and he became the actual head coach. Well, kind of weird. They hired him on April 22nd, the 112th day of the year, and they fired him on April 22nd, the 112th day of the year. Also, he became the coach because this guy got fired, and this guy was born in 1949. Then it just talks about his career as a coach here, and it says on February 11th, so 2/11/22, the mirror of 112, 2012 then, he was named the Western Conference All-Star coach for the 2012 NBA All-Star Game in Orlando, Florida. But then it talks about in the summer of 2012, the Thunder signed Brooks to a multi-year head coaching contract, reporting worth $18 million. In a shortened 66-game season, Brooks led the Thunder to the 2012 NBA Finals, where they lost to the Miami Heat. And I always wondered why they shortened the season to 66 games that year. I don't know, it seemed like such a weird number because it was 66, just almost, But who knows? But 66, now that I know that it's 49 years ago, that's pretty interesting. Considering that was his best season as a coach there. Anyway, it gets way better here. He actually played in the NBA as well. So let's see. He was undrafted in 1987, and he went to, I believe it's Canada, to play basketball. But then in 1988, he went to the NBA. Even better, he was on the 1993-94, the Mirror of 49 Houston Rockets championship team. So that was the only championship that he won as a player. When it was in 1994, the Mirror of 49. I've just got to say it one more time. It's just so ridiculous. And that season for the Houston Rockets was their 27th season. So I talked about how 27 is connected with a lot of this, and it goes with the 88. He started playing basketball in 88 or NBA. It also says here, the Rockets went off to a great start, winning their first 15 games to tie the 1948-49 Washington Capitals for the best unbeaten record to open a season. So they compared them they tied a record with a 1949 team. Then it says, after losing to Atlanta, the Rockets won the next 7 games as well, falling just one victory shy of tying the 1969-70 Knicks. So 1970, that would be 45 years ago. So 49, 45 references. He played 73 games that season. He shot exactly 49% from field goal percentage. And then he had 5.2 points per game, 52. That's Michael Jordan stuff. In the playoffs, he only played 5 games, but he averaged 2.2 points per game. And I noticed just a pattern here of he averaged 4.6 minutes per game, and then 0.4 rebounds and 0.6 assists. So there's 4.6, or 46 and 46. So the coach that season was Rudy Tomjanovich, and when he played, he was number 45, and he was drafted in 1970, so 45 years ago. He was 45 when he played for Michigan, and I didn't even really read that much into here, just saw a few things when I first looked at it. There's probably a bunch more about him, but I want to go back to Scott Brooks. So after the 94 championship, team that he won with the Rockets, he got traded in 95 to the Mavericks for Moreland Wiley and a second-round pick in the only trade deadline deal of the season. But anyway, let's look at Moreland Wiley. Well, first off, he will be 49 years old on September 24th this year. And also September 24th, if you convert it from Gregorian to Julian, it's actually September 11th. Also, Pope Francis is coming to Philadelphia that day. And he's supposedly supposed to be making, I can't even remember, some guy from some old ancient religious guy from San Francisco. They're going to make him a saint or something like that. I can't remember. I should pull it up, but who knows? I think I've already talked about it. So it's actually this guy, just pointing it out who it is. There's an article right here where it talks about Pope Francis sainting him when he comes to Philadelphia. So not going to go into it, but just wanted to show what I was talking about. Another thing I noticed was this guy. It says in 1988 he was an all Big West Conference pick, and his leadership led the school's first NIT appearance. But what he played for Long Beach State, and they're actually called the 49ers. And also, Long Beach is where Russell Westbrook is from, so pretty interesting. And maybe this is why they're called the 49ers, or maybe it's just because it's California, but this school was actually established in 1949. Even more interesting is that it was by Governor Earl Warren. And this guy, let's see here, he actually was appointed to the chair of what would become the Warren Commission, which formed to investigate the 1963 assassination of JFK. And you come here, just click at the Warren Commission, and it was established by LBJ on November 29th, 1963 to investigate assassination of JFK that had taken place on November 22nd, 1963. The 88th U.S. Congressional Session passed Senate Joint Resolution 137 authorizing the presidential appointed commission to report on the assassination of JFK, mandating the attendance and testimony of witnesses and the production of evidence concerning the infraction occurring in Dallas, Texas, blah, blah, blah. So it was the 88th U.S. Congressional Session that passed this, and it's called the Warren Commission, named after the guy who formed that school in 1949. Their final report was 889 pages, and it was presented to LBJ on September 24th, 1964. I've talked about how I've seen this number a lot. I still don't completely know what they're doing with it, but it's been around the 49s a lot. But it's September 24th, like I just said. Not only was that the same day that that Worley guy was born, it's also September 11th when you convert it to the Julian calendar. I also just kind of find that interesting with the JFK because Stephen King has that book 11/22 63, and it's about a guy who time travels to stop the JFK assassination, and he always time travels on September 9th. Wherever it is that they time travel, that always takes them to September 9th of 1958, I believe. So 9/9, which could be 66 if you flip it upside down. I'm not really sure. I just find that interesting that it led me to JFK here. And another thing I found was Long Beach State. Look where they play basketball. They play basketball in the Walter Pyramid. It's literally a giant pyramid. And this place officially opened November 30th, 1994, the Mirror of 49. Also, it says here the capacity is 4,200 with an additional seating. A record attendance of 6,912 occurred on November 16th, 2012 versus North Carolina. November 16th, there's 45 days left until the end of the year. There was, on Valentine's Day with the Space Jam thing, there was 4 people that I talked about, and every one of them was born on this day. So that's pretty interesting. And Valentine's is the 45th day. They also played North Carolina. That's where Michael Jordan played. Also, it says it was $22 million to build this pyramid. Also, just wanted to point out the coordinates. It's 33 degrees north, 118 degrees west. And originally it was just called the Pyramid, but in 2005, they changed it to the Walter Pyramid in honor of Dr. Mike and Arlene Walter. And he is the vice president of Levi Strauss & Company, and he was also Long Beach State's dean until 2000. But that's very interesting considering the new stadium that they're building in San Francisco is called Levi's Stadium. That's where the next year's Super Bowl is going to be. So, I mean, I don't know. Why a pyramid for one? That's pretty crazy. And then just wanted to point out Levi's is actually from San Francisco. Why would that guy be donating all that money to a pyramid stadium that's in Long Beach? Because I looked on the map, Long Beach is 405 miles away from San Francisco. And I mean, that's a pretty good jot, really. But also, I don't know, this could vary, I guess, but pretty weird. I type in just these 2 towns and it's 405, which gives you a 45. It also says each side of the perimeter of Walter Pyramid measures 345 feet, making it a mathematically true pyramid. It is one of the only 3 true pyramid-style buildings in the United States. The other being at the Luxor in Las Vegas, and the other one in Memphis, Tennessee. And running out of time, but Luxor is actually the ancient city of Thebes. I remember where Amun-Ra was from. And I don't know about this pyramid in Memphis. I'll look into it. But I'm still convinced. I know I made a video about the Love Pyramid, and I don't fully understand it. But I mean, there's a 45 in here, 345. And I don't know. There's something to do with the love triangle. I just don't know what it is for sure. Also found interesting at the school, there's people who wrote like famous movies, screenplays. Linda Wolverton actually wrote the screenplay for Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Alice in Wonderland, that was directed by Tim Burton and starring Johnny Depp. That's pretty interesting to me. And her name even has a play on a wolf, like Wolverton. So I'm just going to end it right here. I think, but there's been a lot to do with Scott. Like I talked about it a long time ago, the great Scott from Back to the Future, and then you had Stuart Scott died the next day, I think, after I made that video. And then you got Russell Westbrook, and then his last name is Brooks. I know there was another Brooks that I had seen somewhere, and I know there was more Scotts that I've seen a whole bunch of times. I just can't think of them right now. But I also, when I think of that, I guess I think of Aaron Brooks, who is a Monstar for the Chicago Bulls. It says Rockets, but he actually is with the Bulls, and he is number 0. And I don't know, maybe that's meaning something, but whatever. Just gonna leave it at that. Just running out my 15 minutes, and Have a good one.